Let's do Kohberger, Mark Eiglarsh, because this is a big one. The allegations that Dateline and Keith Morrison, as their lead reporter on it, broke this past Friday are just stunning. And though I can't stand NBC, I like the crew at Dateline, so we're allowed to discuss them favorably. They got a lot of new exclusive details about this case as it barrels toward trial this summer. First of all, they revealed that, this is disturbing, that Kohberger allegedly, this is upsetting, carved the legs of Ethan Chapin. They described this murder of these 4 Idaho college students back in November of 2023. I always stumble on whether it was 23 or 22. It's been so long now. 22. That he went, the allegation that Bryan Kohberger went to this house, that he was casing the house, that he went by the house multiple times that night, including multiple times in the 3 a.m. hour. The murders happened in the 4 a.m. hour between like 4:06 and 4:19 a.m. That he went in through the sliding door of the second floor, which we knew, which is sort of the ground floor. That he went right upstairs, that the main target was not Kaylee Gonsalves, which is what some of us previously believed and had been told, but was Maddie Mogen, who was in bed with Kaylee. They were best friends and sleeping in the same bed. That it was Maddie Mogen. That unfortunately, Kaylee, who was there visiting, was collateral damage in the moment. That he killed the 2 of them, and that they believe that he then was spotted by Xana Kernodle, who was down 1 floor as he was leaving, that he went to kill her, did kill her in the hallway, that they fought, that she fought for her life, that then Ethan Chapin was asleep and either slept through this. It was unclear to me exactly what the sequence was, but he then murdered Ethan Chapin with his knife and, quote, carved, and they make a point in the Dateline show of saying it was a carving, this young man's legs, which is just beyond sick, then went to leave, bumped into the one surviving roommate, and she heard him say something to the effect of, "Don't worry, you'll be okay." And she just froze. He left, and immediately she and the other surviving roommate, who was down the hall or on a different floor, started texting. They knew immediately something terrible had happened. It was apparent to those 2 roommates who lived like that. Mm-hmm. They texted for the next couple of hours, and then the texting resumed. Very strange sequence of events there. But also pointing out that he had all these like bikini shots of girls around his campus and the Idaho campus on his phone, buxom girls in bikinis, was Googling Ted Bundy and stories about Ted Bundy, took a look-alike photo of himself looking like Ted Bundy, Mark. I mean, we can get into some more of the details, but the case against him, it's even stronger than we knew.
It's colossal. And what you just described will be the words flowing from the prosecutor's lips to establish that this crime was especially cold, calculated, and premeditated, CCP, which is one of the aggravators. The other one is hack, heinous, atrocious, and cruel. And that's why I predict that his attorneys will go to the nearest sports goods store and purchase knee pads and get down on their knees and beg for life as opposed to death.
Mm-hmm. We'll go through some of it in more detail. And let's be honest, we haven't heard as much from the defense. Dateline didn't really play up how the defense is going to handle each of these. They did feature Howard Bloom, who's on the show a lot, who is very fair to the defense. Not as fair as Bryan's fans want him to be, but I think he's very fair. But my point is simply, we haven't been given like a close-up preview of the defense and how they're going to argue all this. Here's Keith Morrison on...
And in their defense, each one of these search could be innocuous. Searching Ted Bundy doesn't make you a serial killer, and looking up certain things. But when you put it all together, I mean, again, he enjoys the presumption of innocence like anybody, but there's only one picture that emerges.
Yeah. I mean, it's not abnormal for young college-age men to have pictures of beautiful girls on their phone. It's also not unusual after this crime happened for any American to Google Idaho murders, which they found him doing. Like, that doesn't make you the killer. I certainly did it. So like that, some of it is more innocuous, but some of it is
leaving your sheet leaving your knife sheath with your DNA, that's problematic. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, deeply. And we got more on the car footage, his car on the night in question. Here is SOT 27.
This video, obtained exclusively by Dateline, shows a white car on King Road in Moscow, Idaho on November 13th, 2022. At the wheel, the state will allege, was Bryan Kohberger, making repeated passes near a house where minutes later 4 students were stabbed to death.
Okay, and then there's more. They had on an FBI profiler named Greg Cooper, who spoke to a little bit more about this. Watch, SOT 28.
That same week, the week after the killings, Kohberger began viewing or saving on his phone photos, videos, and news updates about the murders. He did that at least 60 times. He was collecting everything, all the reporting about the incident.
It's very common. He's been watching all these things.
And last but not least, the Ted Bundy thing. Here's SOT 30.
In late December, 6 weeks after the murders of Maddie Mogin, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, records show Kohberger, a criminology student, was again on his phone playing a clip from a YouTube program called Ted Bundy, the Essence of a Psychopath.
My name is Ted Bundy.
Within 24 hours of that, 2 selfies. Kohberger dressed the same way Bundy is pictured on that program.
It's so creepy. It's just so creepy. Again, you can explain it away. Every single fact doesn't mean that he's guilty of anything, but you put it all together. It's not only bad for the defense, but it's so creepy and disturbing.
Does that even come in, though? The fact that he was Googling Ted Bundy and took a lookalike picture of himself as Ted Bundy?
I'd want to put that in. Are you kidding me? I think it goes to the weight, and you let the jury decide how much weight, if any, you're going to give it. You don't keep it out.
Well, on what ground is it relevant? He's interested. A lot of people are interested in true crime, in serial killers. I mean, I can see the defense actually keeping this out.
I can see the defense not wanting it in for sure because it doesn't help them. And I can see a judge saying, why should I exclude it? If I'm doing a 403 balancing, is it more prejudicial than probative? I don't know. I think there's value to it. I think you let the jury decide on this one.
It's not good. Okay, there's more. Weeks before the murders, he searched for dozens of photos of female students from both Washington State and University of Idaho. And pictures from some of these accounts were of friends or followers of the 3 female victims. They don't allege that they were of those 3 female victims. So that's interesting. He, in late September 2022, so this is 2 months before the murders, he was a PhD student at nearby Washington State University. He searched terms such as sociopathic traits in college student and pornography containing keywords drugged and sleeping. And, Mark, as far as we know, there was no sexual assault. I mean, honestly, I don't think there was time for a sexual assault. The murders took place in over 12 minutes, 12 to 18 minutes at the most, and he killed 4 people. But one does wonder if he's searching that, whether he had some other plan, if he hadn't found Maddie Mogin in bed with another woman who he also had to kill. What was he planning? In October 2022, he's getting closer to the murders. He searched, can psychopaths behave pro-socially, which is very disturbing. But the thing is, Mark, a lot of this, the defense is just going to say he was a PhD student in criminology. Of course he was interested in Ted Bundy, the murders, and questions about psychopaths and sociopaths.
Absolutely. There's definitely going to be an explanation for every single thing, even the bizarre behavior of circling his vehicle around the crime scene. They're going to bring in, as soon as they possibly can, although the judge has made it a little bit difficult, that he suffers from autism, albeit mild, but maybe that's consistent with that type of behavior. They're going to explain away all the bizarre behavior. But, just like you can explain away slurred speech, you can explain away bloodshot eyes, you can explain somebody having difficulty driving. When you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, it equals DUI. And in this case, it equals a really abhorrent offense.
The K-bar knife, you mentioned that the knife sheath was left behind. Dateline speculated that it may have it may have like fallen out in a struggle. It may have been in the context of that struggle that happened on the second floor. But my understanding was that they found that with the first two victims on the third floor, Maddie and Kaylee. So I'm not sure. Now, it raised questions for me. Was the knife sheath found underneath one of the two girls and their bodies, or was it down on the floor beneath them with Ethan and Xana lost during a struggle? We'll find out more this summer when we hear actual testimony as opposed to speculations. But this was revealed prior to Dateline. We found out that after the murders, he had searched on Amazon for another K-bar knife, which is just shocking. And Howard Bloom broke that news here on the show. He talked to us about it. And I asked him, do you think he was looking for a replacement knife sheath so that if the cops came, he was like, that's not mine. And he said maybe, or maybe he wanted to commit more murder and he had disposed of the murder weapon and it worked so well. He was looking to do it again. Here is a little bit from the Dateline special on that knife, SOT 29.
After the murders, investigators discovered a sheath from a K-bar knife apparently left by the killer in one of the victims' beds. DNA found on that sheath has been linked to Bryan Kohberger. Dateline was the first to report that Kohberger bought a K-bar knife 7 months before the murders. And now we've obtained records showing that after the murders, Kohberger was back on Amazon looking at K-bars. He even clicked Buy Now and began the checkout process before exiting.
Okay, so that last part is interesting, that he clicked Buy Now, because what Howard told us was that Ann Taylor, the lawyer, had initially suggested, that K-bar knife thing only came up in his Amazon because, like, if they hear you mention knife in the context of a conversation, they do targeted ads. And but if he clicked Buy Now, it's a different story.
Of course. And of the defense, obviously, you're not just going to go, all right, you got us. So there's going to be an argument. Likely, it's not going to be to challenge the effectiveness of DNA. They'll say, all right, it's DNA on there. But someone, somewhere, and again, don't kill the messenger, wanted to frame him like the Mona Lisa and somehow got a hold of his DNA and somehow the sheath and put it there and wanting to frame him. Now, that would be an okay argument if there wasn't all this overwhelming other evidence supporting his guilt.
This July, there's a global summit of BRICS nations in Rio de Janeiro. The bloc of emerging superpowers, or so they hope to be, including China, Russia, India, and Iran, are meeting with the goal of displacing the U.S. dollar as the global currency. They're calling it the Rio Reset. As BRICS nations push forward with their plans, some worry global demand for U.S. dollars could decrease, bringing down the value of those dollars that are in your savings. While this transition, if it happens, will not happen overnight, the Rio Reset could mark a pivotal moment. So learn if diversifying your savings into gold is right for you. Birch Gold Group can help you move your hard-earned savings into a tax-sheltered IRA in precious metals. Claim your free info kit on gold by texting MK to 989898. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and thousands, tens of thousands of happy customers, let Birch Gold arm you with a free, no-obligation info kit on owning gold before July and the Rio Reset. Text MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.